Hello everyone. So I'm here in Glastonbury and I'm away for the first time in over 3 years by myself, and it's a really interesting experience. 2 weeks ago I finished breastfeeding my youngest, who is now 3, and it was a really beautiful process. It went a lot easier than I expected. The transition was really smooth, relatively speaking. We spoke about it for months, preparing him and connecting him into the fact that he could get love and nurturing in other ways. So part of what we decided to do was I would book some time to go away after the process finished so that I could heal and retreat and reconnect into myself and just have that nurturing time for myself. So that's what I'm currently doing. And, you know, it's been such an amazing process breastfeeding my youngest. Breastfeeding all 3 children has been an incredible process, but this is my last child, and breastfeeding him, it was 2 weeks before his 3rd birthday that we stopped. And as I said, we spoke about it so much together. We talked through the process so that he understood and so he knew. And when it came time to stop, the first night was hard. Oh, don't get me wrong, because he would feed throughout the night. So I haven't actually slept until recently through the night for 3 years. So he did wake up and cried a lot the first night. But I knew that I was doing the right thing. So I stayed in my space. I stayed in my strength. I stayed centered in my being. And I trusted. And I really called in the energy of the earth and called in my energy to be able to support him and hold space for him. So that's what I did. I just held the space for him to be able to grieve. Because it's finishing breastfeeding is a process that needs to be grieved on both sides. And grieving is okay, crying is okay, getting angry and upset is okay. And so I acknowledged his feelings and I honoured them. And I allowed him to feel and know that he was held and safe. And so the first night, I think he cried for about 45 minutes and then curled up into me and went back to sleep. And the second night, he cried for about 15 minutes. And then he cried for just a few minutes after that each night for a few nights. And that was it. So it was a really amazing process. And it was really amazing for me to connect deeply into my strength and also to realise that as a mother, we always want to take everyone's pain. As a healer, I want to take everyone's pain and deal with it through myself. I want to take on everything. But that's not our job. We can't take on anything from anyone. And I really realised this so clearly through this process, that the gift of healing comes from holding space and being strong for the other person to know it's okay to feel and to express and to be. And this is such a powerful lesson for us to all learn, that it's okay to feel. It's okay to be in that space. And we have to express ourselves. We have to be able to let it out. But we live in a world now where to let out our emotions, to really feel things, is scary and a little bit too much for people. So that was a really big lesson for me, that we have to just be able to hold and trust that everything will be okay and that we'll be okay in that space. So it's a really, really powerful lesson that has come from that for me, is that holding of space and not trying to change anything for anyone. Just acknowledging that people are okay and have this journey of pain, and our children have to go through pain. But we can be there for them, but not take it from them. And that's what stopping breastfeeding really showed me. And it's been amazing, the transition of seeing my littlest really blossom and move forward on his own. And so, as I said earlier, this is my first night away from them, or first night away from him. He slept on top of me for 3 years. He's been on my heart, you know, literally, like he sleeps on top of me most of the time. So he knew before I left that I was going, and he knew that he could get cuddles and love from his father. And that's such a healing, amazing thing. So I have found myself in a space now of my own, and not of work, but just a space of me. Not being mother, not being wife, not being healer, not being nutritionist, not being anything but me, whoever that is. And I got to Glastonbury at about 3 and went for a walk and looked in the bookshop to find a book to read, and spent time just looking around shops, which was really lovely, not having children pulling me, and had conversations with people and collected water from the White Spring and made myself a beautiful feast just for me, to nurture me in this beautiful B&B that I'm staying in, and ate it by myself in silence, slowly, cherishing every bite, because normally I have to eat quickly whilst I'm multitasking, and looking out at a beautiful view without my phone, without distraction, without conversation. And then at about 7, I got into my pyjamas and got into bed and got my book that I'd just bought and made myself some CBD hot chocolate and started reading, and then paused and did some writing and really reflected on my journey and reflected on what's going on in the world and what's going on in life. And one of the things that has come up so clearly for me on my drive here was that my role in life, my role for me and for others, is to help people remember the earth. And it's really come to me clearly. I've kind of known it. I mean, I have known it and I've been doing it. Like, that's what I do. But as I was driving and as I was in Glastonbury and collecting the water and having that time to myself, I really got the sense of an awakening, a birthing that is occurring in all of us, a deep awakening of us into our more ancient form, into our more real form, into the form that is connected to the earth, into the essence of our being, which is one with nature. And this feeling of awakening is really shifting and bubbling in me. And tomorrow I'm going to go out for some walks by myself and really connect into the landscape and remember, as I try to guide people in that remembering, that deeper connection that we all have, the deeper resonance of our soul. Our soul is our souls, our soul as in one soul, our collective consciousness has come to a point, I feel, where it wants to return to the earth, to that deeper connection with the mother. And the earth wants us to remember and wake up. And so these next couple of days, I will be tuning more into that. So I will share my insights, but I wanted to share the musings so far of my journey and my space that I am now in. And I think, the most important message is trusting the wisdom of your being, and trusting when you need to make a decision, trusting that decision, and holding space for yourself to grow and to feel and to blossom. And yeah, really just tuning into that oneness that we all are with nature, with each other. And as I said, you know, when I stopped breastfeeding my son, I really felt that connection. I think when you're a mother and you're holding your children in this sacred way of feeding them and nurturing them, part of you is just focused on that, and your energy is just in that bubble. And by stopping feeding, I have felt an expansion of my being happening, an expansion of my consciousness, and an expansion of my little one's consciousness, in knowing that he is okay and he can cope, and that I'm with him even if he's not attached to my breast, that he can still have that love and nourishment. And I think, you know, in a way, we all have to remember that, because maybe we were wrenched off our mother's breast too soon, or not in a conscious way. And I think that it's a process for us all to remember and realise that we are all connected to our mother, the mother of the earth, and that we can get that nourishment and that love by tuning into the heartbeat of the earth, by putting our head down onto the bosom of the earth, the ground, and connecting into that magic. So I am going to go back to my reading and go to sleep, and look forward to waking up without children and in my own sweet time, and laying in bed and not having to move if I don't want to. And tomorrow not having to do anything that I don't want to, and just following my own guidance and the guidance of my soul and the guidance of the earth. So good night to you all, sleep tight, and I will see you on the other side.